And welcome everyone to episode 93 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super and Kaiju number 8 and so many more. But we got kind of it's just been kind of like one action-packed episode of the podcast after another, it feels like.
Oh, it's absolutely has been, just because it's like, all right, we got to take down CP9, we got to rescue Robin. We've just been at this for how long, and just the stakes seem to keep building. I mean, we have a Buster Call on the way, but we are slowly taking down the members of CP9. So
yep.
It's a balancing act for sure, of like yes moments, but oh god moments. So,
yeah. It's never quite that easy. It's never as easy as you think.
Definitely not. But let's go ahead and get right into it with chapter 416, Zoro versus Kaku. And we get confirmation that yep, Jobber's done.
Yeah, and I that zinger, that Sanji zinger at the end of the fight, it's one of my favorite lines from him, where he's just like, the gods create the food, but the demons create the spices, and that perhaps this dish was a little too spicy for you.
Just leave it in the impact crater. That's awesome.
That is actually, I remember in the anime, that's actually where the episode ends. So they moved the first page of this chapter to they just tacked it on at the end.
I mean, that's
because it's such a much better zinger than
just
ending it with the kick. But oh man, it's awesome.
it makes sense for the anime stuff, but it's also like kind of gathering everybody up, because Sanji's like, the giraffe and Zoro are still fighting, and like we could see that the tower that got cut by Kaku so long ago is almost off.
It feels like gravity should be doing its thing right about now.
It really should.
It has just been... I wonder if somebody has ever compiled like all of the panels of the tower, like once it gets cut and sort of its gradual sliding down lower and lower.
I don't know, but it'd be fun to kind of see how it all comes together.
Yeah.
But we have to unfortunately put up with more spandom, as he is holding Robin by the hair, and he's like, aha, we're out above the bridge of hesitation, and now the gates of justice are opening to me. And he's just declaring himself like a hero and crap like that. It's like, ugh. And he's like, all right, the bridge leading beyond the gate will soon be raised, and we just need to cross it. Let's go. And it's like, oh boy, it is getting dangerously close to being too late. It is not
they're
good.
right there. They've got the Navy's basically going, all right, we're gonna be there in 10 minutes.
Yep. It's like, oh, okay, we are running out of time, that's for sure. And in the meantime, Frankie is trying to rush there to save Robin with all the keys, and he comes across Luffy's fight with Lucci, and Luffy's looking a little beat up, and honestly, Lucci's looking still suave. Like, he even has the pig hanging out with him.
Yeah, he's just got that stance.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you just try to get through. I dare you.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of this. I guess we'll get to it later, but it does present this interesting dynamic where you have like, all right, in the middle of the fight, like Frankie's gonna have to get past him somehow.
Yeah, and it's like, Luffy's just like, yeah, don't worry about helping me out. Just help Robin. But of course, Lucci's like, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah, of course. It's never that easy.
No. But now it's time to go to the fight with Zoro and Kaku. And it's very much a ridiculous fight, is all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I was surprisingly not underwhelmed by this fight, but just kind of like it was fine. It's just kind of like, I mean, the back and forth is nice because they're both kind of on even ground for most of it, but it is kind of just like the same jokes that we've already seen.
Yeah, that's where I fall. Like, I was reading this and like there's some cool moments in here, but this isn't Zoro's best fight.
Yeah, I think what it is for me is that like there's so much going on, or like there's so many different techniques and ideas being thrown around, and like the giraffe jokes are funny, but like there's not a lot of like it doesn't really escalate, I guess.
Yeah,
So
not
it
really.
feels like it's just kind of like, okay, I go, then you go, then I go, then you go. That's just how it feels. Like it's still cool, of course. Like Zoro fights are cool, but
There's
yeah,
cool moments, but the joke with Kaku, I think, runs its course, which is unfortunate because Kaku is a fun character. I've liked him since its introduction.
And the giraffe gags, they're funny. They are. It never really evolves past that, I think. And I think so soon after Khalifa's fight, where you kind of get the, hey, this is really goofy, but it transitions into like an actual serious threat. Like we already had that, so it is just kind of it's very much within expectations.
Yeah, it's not like some of the others where it's just a build up, and it's like you get these interesting techniques. Like there are techniques getting thrown out like crazy during this fight, and you have the extremely funny visuals. Like the giraffe cube is really funny.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones.
I think that's sort of like the best, and unfortunately it never evolves from there, and the fight doesn't end on this chapter. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And there's also some interesting ideas here where he uses his Tempest kicks to go up into the air, hit the ceiling, and actually shower down on him. Like there's unique ideas in here, and you can definitely see how Zoro would be struggling, but I just like the back and forth, the way they sort of peck at each other, it's like it got old, honestly.
Yeah, a bit. And I mean, like a half chapter is probably the right amount of time for that.
Zoro's pulling out new moves as well. Like we got his gorilla cut now, where he increases his muscle size somehow. Like, okay.
A lot of these are really iconic too. I think a lot of these are kind of really memorable parts of his kit.
The thing is, the kit is great. The kit is great. It's just, I don't know. It's like one of them has a threat. Same to you. It's just opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
It's back and forth, which could make for a very good fight, but it just, I don't know.
Yeah,
flounders a bit.
It just might. Yeah, it's very dense. I don't know. Yeah, it's maybe because the back and forth is so fast that you don't get quite the time to really feel the tension. Mm-hmm. I think one aspect about this I really do like is here towards the end of the chapter where Zoro, he uses the lion song, the same move he used to beat Mr. One. And given that Kaku can use Iron Body, he has that line like, "Could you have cut me if I'd been metal?"
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So,
I recognize
it feels
line,
kind of iconic.
I forgot that. It was like, right, I can't just, even though I can cut metal, it doesn't exactly work against this guy. So
yeah, it feels to me like a good sort of show of like, I guess growth, but like
escalation is like, this is it shows him as a bigger threat than Mr. One.
Yeah, exactly. That's more or less all the thoughts I have for that chapter.
Same. So let's go ahead and just pop into chapter 417, Asura. And more of the fight. it's like just Kaku constantly trying to talk up the giraffe thing, and again we get another weird visual of him pulling his neck in and then like firing it off like a shotgun with his giraffe blast.
Yeah. I like the paneling with the giraffe blast in particular, like the way that it's like Kaku's just like zooming into frame, and the way that it just sort of the way that Oda draws the perspective, I think is really fun.
Mm-hmm. I think that dynamism of the artwork really helps this fight, because you just have that perfect blend of good action, good paneling, and the typical Oda ridiculousness that goes on. And it's just like, okay.
And I just noticed, actually, that kind of skimming through the whole chapter, this is one of the rare ones where he doesn't cut to a different scene or anything. He lets this fight breathe for the entire chapter.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that, but I think maybe that's why I got a little tired of it, I guess.
Yeah,
because I
can see that.
It's just one of those things like, okay, it's the joke about, okay, now he was a box, now he's a long one, now he's a cannon, now he's just all this, and the attacks are definitely effective. And you can see how they're sort of evenly matched. And even like it does ramp up where he gets his swords back with Kaku. But I don't know. By this point, I'm sort of out of the fight.
I guess obviously the big one here in this chapter is the demon aura 9-sword style Asura, which is that's the kind of the big draw. But I feel maybe because the fight is a little more drawn out, that it just kind of, he does it and it ends. It was just kind of like, I was like, oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah. It doesn't feel quite as satisfying as Sanji versus Jabra, or even Nami versus Khalifa. Or really, I don't know. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked. Yeah. Because
this might be the worst of the CP9 fights. Or the weakest, I guess is the best way to put it.
I still think Kumadori is a little worse.
Kumadori is a little worse, but Kumadori goes out in a satisfying fashion because I guess Chopper. It's so quick.
Yeah, you expect better from a Zoro fight, I think.
Yeah, I think that generally, the expectations is kind of weighing this one down, and it's entertaining. Like, I don't want to take away from that. It's still a good fight, but compared to the other CP9 fights and what we've seen from, Luffy's initial CP9 fight and Sanji and Frankie, and it's just like it just doesn't quite hit in that same way. Granted, the Asura stance or whatever that Zoro came up with here, again, new power out of nowhere that's not explained. Thank you, Oda.
Yeah. I can give a little bit of grace to Gear 2 and Diable Jambe. I don't know if I can give that same grace to Asura, but at the same, I mean, Zoro he has an infinite amount of attacks as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he comes up with techniques all the time.
Yeah, so it's not like, I guess it's more that, it really is just he uses his new ability and it's over. Whereas say with Diable Jambe, once he uses it, Sanji still kind of has to use his brain a little bit to get the win. It's not just I have this new ability and I won. It's it kind of escalates into the mid-air battle and stuff like that.
Exactly, where he has to block one and seemingly mistime his kick, but instead is setting up for his final kick. So he has to sort of pull through it. And I guess kind of get that with Zoro, where he's Kaku's definitely attacking way more fiercely. But once the Asura technique comes out and he's facing off against the thing that cut the whole building in half, it's impressive in that way that he cuts through it and counters this massive attack. But it's so quick and instant that I guess it loses some of that satisfaction. Yeah.
I don't mean to be so down on it, because it's a good fight. It's fine.
It's a fine fight. We want to emphasize that, but it's not exactly the fun of the play-by-play that sometimes we do for certain fights, where it is interesting to do it. It really can be summarized as Zoro does his move, now Kaku does his. It's an RPG fight.
Pretty much. Yeah. And I guess because I had treated it, or I had rated it so highly, when I first read through the series, I was like, oh man, that was awesome, and so I was excited to get back to it, and I'm like, oh, that it didn't really quite hit me as hard the second time through, which I can't say for the other fights, which I thought are by and large excellent.
Honestly, I would have thought
so. It's a little bit of a shock.
The Frankie fight against Fukuro, I thought would have been way.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the throwaway one, but it ended up being really sick.
Yeah, who would have guessed? But that's it. Zoro's defeated Kaku. I think we can say that pretty definitively here.
But visually, Asura is awesome.
Oh yeah,
It looks cool.
There's no doubt about that. It looks cool. It is wild that it gets that whole 9-sword style, which is funny because now he's has more swords than frickin' Hachi when he fought him back in Arlong.
Oh man, wouldn't have stood a chance.
Nope. We do have an SBS and interesting discussion here where somebody's asking hey, manga volumes usually have 9 chapters, but One Piece sometimes has 10 or 11. Why is that? They've been kind of thick and intense lately. And so Oda says behind the scenes that graphic novels have to have at least 184 pages. 9 chapters are enough, but if I want to include more chapters no matter what, because I'm selfish, I can force in 10 or 11. And putting it another way, it's a service for the readers. For me, it's all about the story. And, it's because a while back when a 9-chapter book followed an 11-chapter book, readers complained because the books were thinner. So now he's like, all right, well, I got to constantly have 10 or 11 chapters.
Gotta ramp it up. It is an interesting thing because I've worked on a lot of Shueisha published manga that are shorter than that. Like I submitted something yesterday that was like 174, which is like I would say pretty average these days. I think rounding up, like 180 to 200.
Maybe they lowered the count.
Yeah, and of course this is by publishing date. This is like 2005, 2006 or something. So maybe the rule changed or something. There's probably some kind of like something to do with printing, I imagine. But yeah, it is definitely, I think you can tell that like Oda definitely like plans around what chapter is going to end a volume.
Yeah. He definitely wants to have that big pool, and I've noticed that when we get that little end of volume, I was like, man, that is I would definitely be like, oh, I gotta see the next one.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into chapter 418, Luffy versus Rob Lucci. And
that's a title I've been waiting for.
Oh, I know, right? And yep, we end with I honestly love this shot because we have Kaku getting cut, Zoro still in his Asura form, but above them you can see where it opened up.
Yeah, you see the sky above them. I didn't notice that the first time.
That's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Kaku goes down and goes back to his human form, unlike Jabra, who stayed in his wolf form when he got knocked out. Oh. And Zoro's just like, oh yeah, got a message for you from Polly. You're fired.
Yeah.
And Kaku's just like, yeah, they say assassins can never find other work. And Zoro just suggests the zoo. Just Kaku tosses his key and that's it. Kaku passes out.
Yeah, man, that was kind of a slightly underwhelming fight, but I love Kaku.
Yeah.
What a
Kaku,
great
the
guy.
character is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a favorite from this arc. And it's a shame he has to kind of be done dirty with his devil fruit power, but also it's done like the weirdness of it kind of balances out.
He's taking it in stride.
Yeah, so that's it for that fight. So there's only one CP9 member remaining. Meanwhile, everybody's still trying to get off the island as everybody's like rushing, like run for your lives, hurry, hurry, hurry. And we cut, and it's actually the Giants doing all the running as they
that was a good bit of a just some good old fashioned comic paneling where all you see is like the Frankie family and Polly and
Galila.
Oh, Galila. I was trying to remember the frog's name. Yokozuna.
Oh yeah.
You just see them from like waist up, and they're just like run like your legs are gonna fall off, and then on the next page they're all being carried by the Giants. So it's.
Which, hey, so is Sodom and Gomorrah.
Good visual gag. Yeah.
That's pretty good. But as Zoro's finishing up, here comes Sanji asking where the key is. It's like he's looking up. It's like, hey, is the tower going to hold? It's like,
yes.
Which is interesting in retrospect. Now that we've read these set of chapters, because Sanji's questioning that, and Zoro's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, kinda.
More than you'd think.
Yep. And basically, it's time to run. Is all the allies are running. Kokoro and the others are running, and we see that the bridge has fully extended. And Spandam is laughing all the way to get to the Gates of Justice, because he reveals that the Gates of Justice aren't actually the giant ones. It's the smaller one at the end. This is the real entrance to the paths beyond. So he's just like, we stepped through here and you're done. And these panels, one, made me flinch, and two, broke my heart.
It's heartbreaking, and just it's the peak of like I hate Spandam. I hate him.
He's awful.
He's just but like I think what hit me is like you're finally seeing Robin kind of like seeing it from her side, where she's like, no, I have to hold out because like my friends are going to come and save me.
Yeah, I have any moment I can hold out. I know they'll come and save me. I have to just delay as long as possible. And we see that, but with her tugging away from him to the point that it rips her hair out, some of her hair. And he's able to catch up to her and forces her down face first into the basically the side of the bridge, and she's biting the side of the bridge, bleeding through her mouth.
Out. Yep.
And I teeth stuff always gets me. Like, there's a certain scene in Castaway where he knocks out his own tooth. Can never watch that scene.
Oh God.
and I've heard, and this is what made me think of it, the curb stomping scene in American History X, which I've never seen that movie, and I have no desire to, simply because of that scene. So I'm seeing Robin here doing this. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ugh. And I think it just the way that, you know, she thinks to herself that she's so afraid of death that she doesn't want to die. Like, I don't know. There's something about, like, yeah, we need to go and save Robin. We need to go and get to her. That's been the point this whole arc. But now, like, we're finally kind of seeing her thoughts and seeing kind of like what she's trying to do to stay alive and what she's trying to do to keep herself going.
The bravery of it all too, where she was just like willing, like she doesn't want to die. She is afraid of death, but she was still willing to do this to save her friends.
Yep.
And it just means, it makes it just all that more impactful. And God, Robin has done so well with this arc. Like, you feel for her the entire time and just you want to see her happy. It's so much more harrowing than really anything we've seen up to this point, of just somebody trying to hang on. And I think it's because they are part of the crew.
Yeah, for sure.
But now it's time to get back to Luffy versus Lucci, as we get Lucci's finger pistol Yellow Lotus that just is like multi-hit on Luffy.
Which is awesome visual. Looks painful.
Oh yeah, anybody else, maybe
just
Swiss cheese.
Flying. Right, yeah, you see it like what Lucci's techniques would do to a normal person, and you're just like, oh no, like
yeah. And we see the difference in strength between Luffy and Frankie, where Frankie uses the strong hammer that he used to finish off Fukuro, and Lucci just calmly uses Iron Body, and it does nothing.
Doesn't move an inch. And he's just like, sorry, my power level is 5 times stronger.
Which we did see evidence of before. And
that's such a Dragon Ball ass line.
Yeah, it is. And then he just proves it by just, you don't even see the fist, just hits Frankie and just to the front, and it still knocks him out like that. Like, just, my God. But he's ready to kill Frankie when all of a sudden Luffy's ready to bring out Gear 2 with his jet pistol that actually sends Lucci flying.
I was like, oh, this is the part of the fight where, all right, they stop holding back.
Yep.
They start using their abilities.
We need to save Robin. Frankie needs to get by, so we are going all out. And
again, just Luffy in that Gear 2 pose with all the smoke is just one of my favorite visuals. Every time, it's just like, God, it's so cool.
It looks awesome. And Luffy even says, I can't do this for long, but I'll hold him off. You go on ahead. And this is the type of fight we're talking about, where there's like, it's intercut. It's not just about the fight.
There's a little more of an element of strategy to it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, as you said, it's time to level up that fight because Lucci goes into his leopard form. So yeah, it's
which I find it funny that Frankie seemingly didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't there for it, so he had no idea.
Yeah, and then God, that bit where, because he's like, Lucci's going after Frankie, and then Luffy just like transports in between them and gets off a jet whip. It just
sends him crashing. And I love this line. It's like, have you forgotten, Luffy? I beat you in a single push at Galileo when I was in this form. And Luffy's like, oh, I ate some meat and got over it.
Yep.
And sure enough, the shave and the finger pistol not fast enough to get to catch Luffy, and the Iron Body not strong enough to hold up to the jet bazooka. Yeah,
which again, that's the one that he took out Bluno with. So of course it's probably, of course it's not nearly enough to take him down, but it is enough for Frankie to get by.
Yeah, that's the key part here. God, I like this. Even though it's like not much really progressed with the fight other than ramping it up, but it did succeed. Luffy did get that small victory in letting Frankie get by.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. This is the part that again it feels like things are ramping up and the stakes are getting higher because you kind of, the reader, you know that like, okay, they're bringing out kind of like their super forms. But it's also like we saw what Luffy was able to do with Gear 2 last time. And then of course it's that alone is not going to be enough to take down Lucci.
It doesn't seem not as easily, that's for sure.
Not as easily, but it is effective, which is what makes it satisfying. Like it's and I think that's an aspect of like Oda's fights that I do really appreciate. It was kind of the thing missing from Zoro versus Kaku, where it's like the new ability isn't just like the win button. You know,
he rarely pulls that card, but I think he just wanted to finish up Zoro's fight. It feels like.
Yeah, I feel like with Luffy's fights in particular, it's his new just like stuff like that. Kind of, it feels less like, even if something is out of nowhere, I think it's still fine as long as, again, it doesn't just like, all right, I win and you that's it, which I feel like is the case for a lot of shonen manga. I think a lot about that. That's a big problem I had with Bleach back in the day.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We do have an SBS, one asking about the Kalabasramon and whether it's a real thing, and he's just like, it is kind of a thing. So there are legends around the world, and this is sort of based on German folklore. So there's that whole origin, and then just a silly question about a square man. It's nothing too major.
God, the magnifying glass again. The people just noticing all of the random background people.
I know. Oh goodness! But all right. Time for chapter 419, Legend of a Hero.
We're flying through these.
Yeah, we are. I mean,
and it's probably because
the big fight.
Yeah, I was going to say one chapter was all just like, all right, there's Zoro's fight. Oh, it's over.
Yeah, pretty much. And all these things that, like, I don't know why I never thought where, like, all these mentions of, like, this never happened before and this never happened before are, of course, happening during this arc. I don't know why I never thought like, oh, of course that's going to happen. Caught me off guard. Where the gates of justice are actually wide open so that the Navy warships could come in for, the buster call. Right,
because when we had started this arc, the whole framing was like, it's going to open just a little bit so that they can get through, because the whole point was to just get, Spandam and Robin through it. But no, they're opening fully because they're sending in, the whole fleet.
Yeah, we got way more coming in this time around. And of course, as everybody continues to run, they're like, stay alive, win, that sort of thing.
I do like there's a lot of patience with the buster call. Feels like that was, God, like 4 or 5 chapters ago, it feels like. We're slowly getting more and more of like, oh God, it's happening just a little bit every now and then.
Yeah,
like
it makes sense.
The threat is building.
Yeah, it's not instantaneous, and the fights. It makes sense the fights are happening this quickly, like they're breaking down, because a typical fight does not last that long in the grand scheme of things. Luffy's like, I got Frankie through, and Lucci's like, I got Careless, and interesting. Well, it doesn't quite happen yet, but Lucci's sort of like analyzing, like, you're already breathing heavy. He's like, beating you is all, Luffy's like, beating you is all that matters. Like, let's see how tough you are.
Yeah.
it's like, I'm ready to meet this challenge. Let's do this. But we see the end of the Bridge of Hesitation and what awaits on the other side, and it's just a dock. It's just
it feels a little anticlimactic almost.
Yeah, it's just a dock with a ship that takes him to Impel Down.
Yeah, which I guess it makes sense. I feel like this is some real like Chekhov's gun kind of stuff here, where Spandam's like, I put a landmine at the top of the stairs just in case. If anybody gets to the top, they'll be blown to bits. But we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's more stuff to just take away his expectations, but also put in more trials for that, and just the trail of blood from Robin.
Yeah,
really Robin's head as he just drags her along, and she's still saying like, they said they would save me, we won't make it through the gates, and he just keeps yelling at her. It's like, nope, everyone's gonna die in the buster calls flames, even it'll erase the shame of their shooting a sacred flame, our sacred flag, excuse me. And that's when he brings up O'Hara, just as we erase them. And that's when he actually reveals to her, because we knew this, but it's easy to forget that she did not know this.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I guess this is kind of important that he, as annoying as Spandam's grandstanding is, I guess it's kind of an important piece to know. Like, oh yeah, that was like, my dad was there.
Yeah, my dad had done this, and God, that look in her eye.
Yep.
Like, it's like, oh, just you can just tell she wants to unleash on this guy. And yeah, he just, again, laying into her, taking that time to just like, you're on your own. It's all because of us, and you're not fit to live, and how pathetic you are, because thinking about it still makes you cry. And it's like, it's my father who put the bounty and put you through that hell. And through it all, like, Robin just says, no, I'm still alive. And Spandam's like, you're going to die. It's like, it's just, God, just to have him as that kind of wall, that representation of he really is just that representation of the world that's been pressuring Robin throughout her entire life. That lack of freedom that she's had, that lack of ease. And he's effective in that way. Yeah.
And that, like, I mean, Spandam is one of the most like easily hateable characters in all of One Piece, which is I feel like not a low bar, but
yeah,
there have been some
It's
incompetent.
a different kind of hate, because he's another kind of like weak character that talks himself up, but it's different because you're with him much longer than the Zumi. He can't back it up, kind of like Bellamy could. It's he's just all power, all grandstanding, and it gets at you. Because you know nothing about him is right. And unfortunately, that landmine does go off on Frankie, as we see. And he's shocked by it. And that, of course, makes him like, all right, we're going to run towards the end. It's like, we're just going to go like this. And she's just struggling to stay on the other side of that gate. And he's ready to go past. And all of a sudden, Spandam catches flames and a 2-page spread that sends him flying.
One of my, I did not know that this was happening here. So I was completely caught off guard by this. So I was like, oh, he blew up.
Yeah.
What?
I thought Frankie was somehow going to get the save, like just like Rocket Fist or something like that. But no, just random explosion. And it's like, what the? And what falls happened? Down he gets sent flying down the stairs to all the other Navy men. And it's like, wait, what's going on? There's no one on the bridge. Someone find him. And all these other Navy men are there, and they start getting taken out. And Spandam's like, arrest him, stop him. Like, we can't find him. We don't know where he is. Then all of a sudden, the guy with the binocular says, wait, there he is. And we see Robin, just tears in her eyes.
I start crying at that panel, man. And then the next panel.
Oh, it is so...
The build up to this is so awesome.
Usopp has never looked more badass with that cape, that mask, that finger point where he's on top of the Tower of Law. And I love, like, he doesn't get a fight, but this is arguably more important than anything else.
This is one of my favorite moments. That shot of him pointing his finger up with like the sunlight coming through from behind him. It's one of my favorite panels, the whole manga.
It's amazing. It's just this culmination of showing why Usopp is necessary to this crew.
He's the key. As Sanji said, like, you need to do what only you can do.
Yeah, and just those tears from Robin, and she's like, "It's Long Nose." And,
I love, as a random Navy guy points out, he's just like, like from that distance in this wind, like how could he shoot so accurately? And of course, like they can't hit him back because of the distance. They're like, we can't fire back at him. Like our bullets won't get anywhere close. But
which is amazing that the Kabuto can do that. Like, he must have used some dial technology or something like that for the really
seriously
Kabuto.
Just God, this feels like Usopp coming into his own as the Straw Hat sniper, and like this is a moment that could only happen because they have a sniper.
Yeah, and it's all intentional too, because a lot of times he's done these like really good shots, but not intentionally, or he'll like at this desperation moment in his fights, and that's kind of this as well, but this feels much more purposeful because he's not in the action. It's just trying to make that save, and I just love the buildup of like, yes, Usopp is awesome because we have Sanji is like, isn't our sharpshooter awesome? Take that, jerks. Run, Robin.
Sanji believes in him more than anybody.
Yeah, Sanji's all about it. And then also, it's very tiny, but Zoro's asking, does he have this thing where he's, turns out but Usopp is singing the Sniper King theme song.
Yep.
Which is so good. And Spandam's like, how dare he? And then he gets shot again, which is like, thank you for this, Usopp.
Yep. This part in particular is so cathartic. This in the next chapter.
Yeah. And Robin is able to get to her feet and starts making a mad dash, and Spandam, of course, does it with his stupid orders like, don't let her escape, shoot, I want her alive, but shoot to kill. And there's like, what? and the great thing here, the teamwork, where Usopp shoots, the men shoot at Robin, but it's blocked by Frankie, who still survived the landmine because of his cyborg body. He's made of steel. Yeah. And of course, these guys that shot get taken out by Usopp. He's like, and Spander's just like, oh God, it's all falling apart.
This is the power of friendship moment. It's just everything's coming together. Everybody is making their plays. It's so good, dude.
And he has the transponder snail that he got from Nami. He said there's a bundle of red cloth. Oh wait, he didn't shoot the man. He shot the cloth at that moment. That's what he did.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, man.
that's when he shot the cloth. He's like, all right, found it. Inside are 2 keys. Add them to yours and you'll have them all. And Spanish realized like, oh God, he defeated all of them. Which I don't think we have Lucci. It'd be really bad if we didn't have Lucci, if it was Lucci that had that one. But yeah.
Oh, man.
But it's just like special delivery and it's so good.
It's so good. Yeah. Oh, man.
And then we're not even done yet because we have the third One Piece character popularity poll. And Luffy with the win by a landslide.
Yeah, by over 4,000 votes.
It's like close to 5K, really.
Yeah.
And I like how we have like the reasons for it. And I also like that the entire crew is in the top 7. Every crew member. Going Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Usopp, and then Nami.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I agree with. I mostly agree with this one. Yeah, it makes sense. I'd probably put Nami a little bit higher, Chopper a little bit lower, but they're all good. They're all good, and it's interesting to see the spread. And then to round out the top 10, we have Mihawk, who hasn't shown up in how long?
Yeah, seriously.
My boy Kaku getting 9th, and Ace with 10th place.
Yeah, Kaku is the highest ranking CP9, or not literally the highest ranking.
Yeah,
the highest, popular, the most popular CP9 agent, which is kind of surprising to me. I don't know if I would have guessed that.
Yeah, I would not have expected that either. Just below Ace was Shanks, and then Lucci at number 12.
Yeah,
and Vivi still making the top 15,
which is great.
And hey, Jabber even got 17th, and hey, Paulie's in there at 18th. Frankie got 13th, by the way. I didn't mention that one. The other interesting things that came out to me, I guess, is Khalifa got 23rd. Fukuro got 26th. So I guess we weren't the only ones that were surprised how much we like Fukuro's fight.
Yeah.
Because Kumadori did not place, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, wow. Oof.
Interesting thing here, Kuro placed higher than Crocodile.
Yeah, that just barely, but that I definitely, I would bargain to say that I like Crocodile a lot more personally, but
yeah, I'd agree. Now, the one thing I do appreciate about this is that they had a reminder of what the popularity contest was like for the top 10 as of volume 24. And we could see that, it's still Luffy, Zoro, then Sanji and Chopper is the top 4. Nami was 5th, Usopp was 6th. And Usopp technically stayed the same because Robin came in and just really burst onto the ranks after that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but now in context, seeing that Robin wasn't, because she wasn't a part of the crew at that point, I assume.
I think it was still pretty close in, but yeah. And then Shanks at 7th going from 7th to 11th on this one. Ace went from 8th to 10th. Bon Clay was 9th. Unfortunately, he
Wow.
fell down to 21st now.
Oh, don't do
Which
my
is-
boy dirty like that.
Hey, he still placed higher than Naneru, so there's that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Vivi going from 10th to 15th. Honestly, it's impressive that Vivi stayed that high.
Yeah, I feel like as far as, I mean, God, because you have, again, Mr. 2, another Alabasta character. I guess that's the tricky thing about these popularity polls. You're like, well, here are these characters who haven't been on screen for hundreds of chapters.
Yeah.
So in spite of that, Vivi's still pretty high.
Yeah. And then we actually have 31 to 99 with everybody. And weirdly enough, I'm like going through and spotting a few. There's definitely some odd ones here. Some odd choices, like the Klabashramon got on there. Oda himself got on there. But if you look, there's also the mackerel head from the Baratier fight.
Yeah. I was
there?
wondering, it's like, what is that from again?
Yeah, that's Baratier.
Yeah.
Dr. Ratchet from the movie that we just watched is in there.
He's way too high.
59th.
Although it is this, like, it's kind of funny to see him drawn by Oda. That I was like, oh, that's a kind of a neat little thing. And I was looking as like, are any of the other movie villains on here?
I don't think so.
Where's my boy Baron Omatsuri? Come on now.
Yeah, that's a shame right there.
Of all the movie villains, which is again not a high bar.
It's funny how certain characters have been around. Like Mayor Boodle got 66th place, and the chicken.
I didn't know he had a name.
I know. The chicken from that joke with Jabra and Usopp is in 65th place. It's really funny to see how that all ended up.
I hope Foxy gets a little higher next time. Poor boy's in 95th.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's in not going to happen there. I have a feeling. Honestly, we spent a lot of time talking about that than I thought. But there were some really interesting placements.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun popularity poll.
Yeah. All right, well, let's finish it up with chapter 420, Buster Call. We got number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5. Number 5 was what she had, and I believe number 5 was Kaku's.
Who's 5 again? Okay.
I think it was Kaku's, because they sent 3 and 4, which we got from before. And number 5 ended up being the right cuff. So yeah, Kaku was the one.
She's free like that. I feel like that's huge.
Yeah, the cuffs are off. She's free. I like that Frankie's just holding her steady, and Spandam's just like, oh God, does that mean you beat everyone at CP9? What the heck? That can't be it.
No, they must have stolen them.
Yeah. And Frankie just says, hey, I got the handcuffs off Nico Robin. And they're all like, yes. And then Robin's like, oh, thank you, Longnose. And the way Usopp says is like, offer your thanks when this is all over to those who worked hard to get the keys. You are without a doubt a comrade of Luffy's gang. Now enjoy your freedom.
Hell yes.
And how does she enjoy her freedom? By slapping the hell out of Spandam.
Oh my God. I could do this all day. Like,
I could watch her do it all day.
Yes.
It's like, all right, we got to move. So get down here, Sniper King. We need to go. And that's when Usopp hears something and an explosion happens. Bombs from the warships have arrived and blasted through the defensive perimeter. They're like, oh yeah, look at the sea. That whirlpool that kept ships from coming in was created by the currents trapped by the gates of justice. But now that they're open, the whirlpool is gone and they're able to come in. And they're like, hey, Sniper King, get down here. And he's like,
get out of
crazy?
there.
I'm not going to jump from there. And all of a sudden, boom, the entire top of the Tower of Law just taken out finally.
Which is impressive, but it was already a little worse for wear.
Yeah, the bigger concern here is that's where Usopp was.
Yeah. And then but God, like the panel of it just like falling down into the abyss is just like,
and taking out the other side of the bridge. Like there really is no way back. And seeing Sanji's face panicking at the thought of losing Usopp after all that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you call it as he crashes into
of course.
It's like, can't you show some kindness by catching the hero who took a deadly dive off the roof? All right, we're all
glad
good.
He's okay.
So we'll be there. We're coming. So it's like Frankie's like, all right, Robin, count ready for a fight. It's time to take all these guys and get ready because hey, that escort ship past the bridge. I think that's our best way to escape. So I think let's steal it. And Ah, yes.
Seeing like these two have such kind of a fun dynamic already from the start, where she's just like, all right, we're already wanted criminals, like we might as well steal a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy seeing her free and seeing her smile like that.
Oh yeah,
oh, we did it.
Finally, we just now we just need to survive. And
Yes.
Lucci. But there is an oddly good chemistry between Robin and Frankie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see that Kokoro, Chopper, Nami, and all of them are only about halfway through. They're getting closer to where Luffy is having his fight. God, it is a wild fight with how they're still just sort of trying to meet each other, and Luffy's definitely keeping up as best as he can, but thankfully we finally have a breakdown of how the heck Gear 2 works. Thanks to Lucci. He analyzes, so you pump your legs and speed up your blood flow. The blood pressure would rupture a normal person's heart, but you can take it because every part of you is rubber. So your physical abilities go through the roof, but your strength can't keep up with the intensity.
I remember this blowing my mind when I read it for the first time, where it was just like every part of him is rubber. He has,
rubber heart.
They take that quite literally. Like, you're gonna pump your rubber blood through your rubber heart.
Yeah, and it's basically he's just supercharging himself, which is Yep.
Yeah, and then of course he's just like, you're chipping away at your life, and of course Luffy just says it's better than doing nothing while my friends are being taken away, which is again it's a desperation move, but it's what he needs in order to close the gap.
Yeah. And Lucci's like, you're not gonna survive. They've already started their bombardments. They're all going to die. And if they are lucky enough to escape the undersea passage, and he just breaks open the water, they're gonna drown.
Isn't that's the undersea passage that Nami's currently in, right?
Yes.
Oh God.
So that's not good. And he's just saying, hey, it's impossible for you to save everyone and escape. You might be able to save your own skin. But Luffy's immediately like, no, what do you know about impossible? And we return to Robin and Frankie versus the Navy men, and of course they're not going to stand up to these.
Yeah, they're not nowhere even close.
But that's when when Spandam spots something in the mist. A fleet of warships. The Buster Call has started as we see the 5 new vice admirals.
Yep. Oh boy. And that is an impressive spread as well.
Yeah, it is. It's it really does bring to mind. It's that's the power of all this. That's gonna suck.
So this whole situation is, well, on the one hand, we've rescued Robin. Well, we freed Robin.
Yeah.
So things are looking up. Objective cleared, but now, it's all right, survive and escape. This seems to be sort of the next objective.
Yeah, we're getting there. But God. I know we weren't super impressed with Zoro's fight, but still a damn good set of chapters. Honestly, highlight is absolutely Usopp. That is
I'm
a cheer
so
moment.
Happy for my boy. That is one of his coolest moments, maybe ever, even to this day. That's so good. I'm
Fantastic.
So happy.
Yeah, same here. But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 416 to 420. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job, and this is more of that.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 421 to 425 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Slingshot! This guy's a monster! The wind's blowing like crazy, and he's all the way over there, but he's still hitting his mark every time!
Thank you, Longnose.